The massive ceremonial hall glowed with strange blue lights as representatives from 47 different alien worlds gathered together. Among them stood a small group of humans, looking uncomfortable in their formal diplomatic clothes. Ambassador Kong Taemin adjusted his collar nervously. Humans had only been part of the Galactic Council for 50 years, and he still felt out of place at these grand meetings. At the center of the hall, a tall alien with glowing eyes raised his arms. His name was Velshar, and he was one of the oldest and most respected scientists in the entire galaxy. His species, the Emoocti, had been studying the stars for millions of years. Today is a historic moment, Velshar announced. His voice echoed through translation devices that every species wore. For 800,000 years, this object has remained the greatest mystery our civilizations have ever encountered. The lights dimmed. A floating platform rose from the floor, and on it sat a small crystalline device. It was about the size of a human fist, covered in beautiful geometric patterns that seemed to move and shift like liquid metal. Many of the aliens in the room bowed their heads when they saw it. Some made sounds of reverence and awe. Park Ji-woo, a young human engineer, leaned forward to see better. She was 24 years old, with dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She had only been added to the human delegation a week ago when their main scientist got sick. Now she stood among the most important beings in the galaxy, feeling very small. We discovered this artifact on a dead planet in the Andromeda sector. Velshar continued. Our finest minds have studied it for decades. We have determined that it is 850,000 years old. The technology inside it should not exist. It does things our physics says are impossible. A holographic display appeared above the device, showing complex mathematical equations and energy readings. Ji-woo squinted at them, trying to understand. This device creates what we call a temporal resonance field, the old scientist explained. It can store and transmit information across different dimensions, possibly even across time itself. The energy it uses is so efficient that even our most advanced technology looks primitive in comparison. Another alien stood up, her purple scales shimmering with emotion. Whoever built this device possessed knowledge beyond anything we can imagine. This artifact represents the peak of what intelligent life can achieve. It is sacred to all of us. Ji-woo's eyes grew wider as she listened. She leaned closer to the holographic display, studying the patterns on the device's surface. Her face suddenly went very pale. "Oh no," she whispered to herself. "No, no, no. This can't be real." Ambassador Kong glanced at her with concern. "Engineer Park, are you feeling all right?" Ji-woo did not answer. She was staring at the artifact with a look of complete disbelief. Her hands started to shake. Then, before she could stop herself, she let out a laugh. It was not a quiet, polite laugh. It was loud and incredulous, echoing through the silent ceremonial hall. Every alien in the room turned to look at her. Some looked confused. Others looked angry. "I'm sorry," Ji-woo gasped. Tried to control herself. "I'm so sorry, but this is just..." She looked at the ancient artifact again and laughed even harder. "This is insane." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Ambassador Kong grabbed her arm. "Ji-woo, what are you doing?" he hissed. She wiped tears from her eyes, finally managing to stop laughing. She took a deep breath and looked directly at Velshar. "I'm really sorry for being disrespectful, but I need to tell you something." Every being in the hall was staring at her now. The silence was deafening. "I built that," Ji-woo said, pointing at the artifact. "Well, not that exact one, but I built something almost exactly like it." Velshar's translator device struggled for a moment, as if it could not believe what it was hearing. "What did you say?" he asked slowly. Ji-woo straightened her shoulders, her humor fading as she realized how serious this was. "I built a device just like that one from my high school science fair. 12 years ago. In 2835, I was 17 years old. For 3 long seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then the entire hall erupted into chaos. Aliens were shouting in dozens of different languages. Translation devices were beeping frantically. Some aliens were standing up, waving their arms or tentacles in anger. Others were making sounds that the translators could not even interpret. "Impossible!" roared a large alien with 6 arms. "She lies. She mocks our sacred discovery." Captain Lee Boiret, the human military officer, quickly moved to stand beside Jiwoo protectively. Ambassador Kong looked at the young engineer with wide eyes. "Jiwoo, please tell me you know what you're saying." "I do," Jiwoo said firmly, though her voice shook slightly. "I know exactly what I'm saying, and I can prove it." The chamber exploded with angry clicks, roars, and translating devices working overtime. Some aliens were making sounds that no human had ever heard before. The noise was overwhelming. "Blasphemy!" shouted a Corthian delegate as he slammed 3 of his 6 powerful arms down on his console. The sound echoed like thunder through the hall. Ambassador Kong grabbed Jiwoo's shoulder tightly. His face was pale with worry. "Engineer Park, what are you saying? Do you understand how serious this is?" Jiwoo straightened her back, her earlier laughter completely gone now. She realized that she had just insulted the most sacred discovery in galactic history. But she could not take back her words, and she would not lie. "I'm completely serious, Ambassador. I built something almost exactly like that device from my high school science fair project. I called it a quantum echo chamber. It used temporal resonance fields to boost signal transmission." Vel Shar, the ancient Moakti scientist, made a hissing sound that the translator rendered as pure rage. "Impossible. You are a child. Your species only discovered faster than light travel 60 years ago. We have studied this artifact for longer than your entire civilization has existed. I was 17 when I built it," Jiwoo replied, keeping her voice calm even though her heart was pounding. "And I only got 2nd place at the science fair because my teacher said my project was too derivative. He thought I had copied the idea from somewhere else." Several aliens began shouting at once. The translation devices could barely keep up with all the different languages. Captain Lee Boiret stepped forward, placing herself between Jiwoo and the angry crowd. "Everyone, please calm down. Let her explain." "Explain what?" demanded a reptilian alien from the back of the room. "Explain how she dares to mock our most ancient mystery." "I'm not mocking anyone," Jiwoo protested, her voice rising. "I'm telling you the truth. My teacher's name was Choi Dae-sung. He taught physics at Busan Science High School. He gave me 2nd place because he said the technology one described already existed somewhere, but I had invented it myself. I spent 6 months working on it in my parents' garage." Vel Shar's 4 eyes narrowed dangerously. "If this absurd claim is true, then prove it human. Show us this device you supposedly built." Ambassador Kong was already reaching for his communication device with shaking hands. "I can request the records from Earth's educational archives. All science fair projects are documented and stored digitally." "Do it," Vel Shar commanded. "And when you cannot produce evidence, your species will face consequences for this insult." The next 3 hours felt like an eternity. Jiwoo sat in a small waiting room with Captain Lee and Ambassador Kong, while technicians worked to access Earth's archives from across the galaxy. The 2 older humans looked at her with expressions mixed between concern and disbelief. "Jiwoo," Captain Lee said quietly, "are you absolutely certain about this? If you're wrong, or if you're misremembering—" "I'm not wrong," Jiwoo insisted. "I remember every detail. I built that device because I was frustrated with our home internet connection. It kept dropping during my online gaming sessions. I started experimenting with ways to boost the signal, and I accidentally discovered that certain crystal structures could create resonance fields in quantum space." "But how could you possibly know how to do that?" Ambassador Kong asked. "You were just a teenager." Jiwoo shrugged helplessly. "I don't know. It just made sense to me. Like the answer was obvious once I looked at the problem the right way." Finally, the call came. The archives had been accessed. The council reconvened in the ceremonial hall, and a massive holographic display appeared in the center of the room. The image showed a teenage Park Ji-woo standing in a cluttered garage workshop. She was wearing old jeans and a faded K-pop band t-shirt. Her hair was messy, pulled back with a simple rubber band. She looked excited and nervous as she spoke to a camera. "This is my entry for the regional science fair. Video Jiwoo said in Korean, with translated subtitles appearing below. I call it the quantum echo chamber. It creates a temporal resonance field that can transmit data across quantum barriers. The teenage girl held up a device that looked remarkably similar to the ancient artifact, though it was obviously homemade. Parts of it were held together with duct tape and wire. Some components looked like they had been 3D printed. But the basic structure, the geometric patterns on the crystal core, the arrangement of the energy nodes, all of it matched the 800,000-year-old artifact. I discovered this effect by accident. Teenage Wu continued enthusiastically. I was trying to boost our Wi-Fi signal when I noticed that certain crystalline structures created strange resonance patterns. At first, I thought my equipment was broken, but then I realized I had found something new. She held up a worn notebook filled with handwritten equations and sketches. All the math is here in my journal. I know Mr. Choi probably won't believe this is original work. He'll think I copied it from somewhere. But I promise I figured this out myself. I mean, nobody else is working on temporal resonance networking, right? The video ended. The hall was completely silent. Velshar's voice was barely a whisper. Show us the technical specifications. Show us the mathematics. Jiwoo's hands trembled as she pulled up her archive project files. Page after page of equations, diagrams, experimental data, and detailed photographs appeared on the holographic display. She had documented everything carefully, hoping it would help her win first place at the science fair. A small group of alien scientists rushed forward, studying the information frantically. They compared Jiwoo's equations to their own analysis of the ancient artifact. Minutes passed in tense silence. Finally, a Draxi scientist spoke, her voice filled with shock. The fundamental principles are the same, not identical, but the core methodology matches perfectly. This human child discovered the same technology that we believed was impossible. How? Demanded Velshar. How is this possible? Jiwoo stepped forward. I wish I could tell you. I just saw the problem and tried different solutions until something worked. I wasn't trying to invent ancient technology. I was just trying to fix my internet. 2 weeks later, the council reconvened. Jiwoo's original high school project sat on the analysis platform, its duct-tape glory contrasting sharply with the pristine ancient artifact beside it. The homemade device looked almost embarrassing next to the elegant ancient object, yet somehow they were the same thing. They're functionally identical, the Draxi scientist reported to the assembled crowd. Her voice carried a tone of disbelief even after 2 weeks of testing. The human device is cruder, built with primitive materials, but the underlying principles are exactly the same. They both create temporal resonance fields using the same mathematical framework. Velshar looked like he had aged a century. His 4 eyes were dimmer, and he moved slowly as he approached the display. We've also completed our investigation of the dead world where we found the artifact. He said quietly, what we discovered there changes everything we thought we knew. A hologram appeared above the platform, showing a planet that looked like it had been torn apart by some terrible force. The surface was covered in strange geometric scars that seemed to glow with residual energy. Large sections of the planet's crust had been ripped away, floating in orbit like broken pieces of pottery. This world died approximately 850,000 years ago, Velshar continued. We always assumed it was destroyed by natural disasters or warfare, but our new investigation revealed something we did not expect to find. He manipulated the hologram, zooming in on various locations across the dead planet's surface. We found traces of DNA, human DNA. We found fragments of data storage devices containing languages from 21st century Earth. And we found evidence of massive temporal rifts, tears in the fabric of space and time itself. The chamber filled with shocked murmurs. Ambassador Kong looked like he might faint. Captain Lee gripped the edge of her chair. What are you saying? Jiwoo asked, her voice barely above a whisper. We believe this world was settled by humans, Velshar said. Hundreds of thousands of years before your species should have even existed on Earth. That's impossible. Captain Lee protested. Humans only achieved spaceflight 200 years ago. How could we have colonized a planet in another galaxy nearly 1 million years ago? A new figure stepped forward. She was an MOOCD scientist named Dr. Shin Harin who had been working closely with the human delegation. Actually, we've discovered something even more disturbing. This is not an isolated incident. She activated a new display showing a star map of the galaxy. Dozens of locations began to glow with red markers. These are archaeological sites that have puzzled us for centuries. Ancient ruins, derelict spacecraft, unexplained technology, all mysteries that we could never solve. Until now. Dr. Shin pulled up images of various artifacts. A Corthian child's toy that uses anti-gravity technology matches the propulsion system of a 2-million-year-old derelict ship perfectly. A mathematical theorem that a human university student proved last year solved an equation that alien civilizations have been struggling with for 10,000 years. And she claimed the solution just came to her in a dream. More images appeared. A simple cooking device invented by a human chef that used quantum heating principles found in ancient alien ruins. A musical instrument created by a human musician that produced sounds through dimensional harmonics. A technology that was supposedly lost 3 million years ago. Every single one of these mysteries has one thing in common, Dr. Shin said. They all connect to humans somehow. Either humans rediscovered the technology, or humans were somehow involved in creating it in the first place. A Zen-3 neuroscientist stood up, her scales flickering with nervous energy. We've been studying human brain patterns for the past 2 weeks. What we found is extraordinary. Human problem-solving is fundamentally different from every other known species. She displayed brain scans showing the difference between human and alien thought processes. Most intelligent species evolved to think logically and linearly. We process information step by step, following clear rules of cause and effect. But humans are different. You think chaotically. You make intuitive leaps. You try ideas that seem stupid, but somehow work anyway. I'm not sure that's a compliment, Jiwoo muttered. It is more than a compliment, the Zen-3 scientist said seriously. Your thought patterns mirror quantum randomness itself. Human consciousness appears to interact with probability fields in ways that we cannot fully understand. You don't just observe reality. You unconsciously influence it. Ambassador Kong stood up slowly. Are you saying that humans can somehow access information from across time? That we're remembering things that haven't happened yet, or that happened in some distant past? We have 2 theories, Dr. Shin explained. Theory 1. Humans are descendants of an ancient precursor race that existed millions of years ago. That race somehow seeded Earth with human DNA, and modern humans carry genetic memories of their technology. When someone like Jiwoo invents something, she's actually remembering knowledge buried in her genes. And Theory 2? Captain Lee asked. Theory 2 is even stranger, Dr. Shin said. Human consciousness naturally exists in a quantum state that allows it to interact with probability itself. When you have an intuitive breakthrough or a sudden inspiration, you're not remembering anything. You're accessing information from multiple possible timelines simultaneously. Your mind reaches forward and backward through time, pulling solutions from the past or future. Jiwoo looked down at her hands. When I was building my device, I kept having these dreams. Strange geometric patterns that I would sketch in my notebooks during class. I thought they were just doodles, random drawings I made when I was bored. May we see these notebooks? Velshar asked. Jiwoo nodded. Her parents had sent all her old-school materials to the council. When the notebooks were displayed, everyone could see the sketches in the margins. Complex geometric patterns, mathematical symbols, and design that seemed to flow from her pen without conscious thought. Dr. Shin placed one of Jiwoo's sketches next to a photograph from the dead world. They matched perfectly. The same patterns carved into ancient stone, drawn by a bored teenager 850,000 years later. The question now, Velshar said heavily, is what do we do with this information? Are humans dangerous? Should they be quarantined? Or are they the key to understanding mysteries we have never been able to solve? The council chamber fell into troubled silence as everyone considered the implications of what they had learned. The investigation teams worked for months. What they discovered rewrote everything that the galaxy thought it knew about humans and their place in the universe. In Jiwoo's parents' attic in Busan, Researchers found boxes of her old notebooks from middle school and high school. Buried in the margins between math homework and history notes were sketches she did not remember drawing. Geometric patterns, strange symbols, and designs that looked almost alien covered the edges of nearly every page. "I drew these during class when I was bored," Jiwoo said, staring at the pages with growing unease. "I thought they were just doodles. Random drawings I made while the teacher was talking." Dr. Shin placed one of the notebook pages next to a holographic image from the dead world. The patterns were identical. Not similar, identical, down to the smallest detail. Teenage Wu had drawn exact replicas of structures that were 850,000 years old. "You drew these without knowing what they were?" Dr. Shin asked gently. "I didn't know anything," Jiwoo whispered. "My hand would just move sometimes. It felt relaxing, like meditation. I never thought about what I was drawing." But Jiwoo was not alone. The investigation teams had expanded their search across Earth, looking for similar cases. What they found was disturbing and fascinating in equal measure. A human child named Yuseojun, only 9 years old, had built a toy spaceship in his bedroom. His mother thought it was just plastic and wire, so she threw it away when she was cleaning. But investigators retrieved it from a recycling center just in time. When they analyzed it, they discovered that the toy used propulsion principles that matched an ancient alien engine design, one that had been found in a derelict ship floating in deep space for over 1 million years. "I just want to make a cool spaceship," Seo-jun told the researchers, confused by all the attention. "I saw it in my dreams and built it with things from around the house." A human musician named On Jisoo had composed a song 3 years ago that became quite popular in Korea. But when alien mathematicians analyzed the mathematical ratios in her melody, they discovered something impossible. The song structure perfectly described quantum entanglement using musical notes. "I don't know anything about quantum physics," Jisoo said when they interviewed her. "I just wrote music that sounded right to me. Beautiful. I never thought about math at all." The cases kept coming. A retired human teacher had developed a new teaching method that somehow matched ancient alien educational techniques from a civilization that died out 2 million years ago. A human artist painted abstract pictures that perfectly illustrated dimensional fold theory, something she had never studied. A human chef invented a cooking technique that used principles found in ancient energy transformation devices. Every case was the same. Humans creating, discovering, or inventing things that matched ancient alien technology. And none of them understood why or how. They just followed their intuition, their dreams, their sense of what felt right. "It's like humans are living receivers," the Zen3 neuroscientist explained to council during an emergency session. "Your consciousness exists partially outside of linear time. You receive information from the past, from the future, from parallel possibilities. But you don't know you're doing it. To you, it just feels like inspiration, or intuition, or luck. Are we dangerous?" Ambassador Kong asked the question that everyone was thinking. Should humans be isolated from the rest of the galaxy? That question created a massive split in the council. Some species argued loudly that humans must be quarantined immediately. They said humans were unpredictable, that they might accidentally cause tempered disasters, that they could not be trusted with their own unconscious abilities. Others argued just as loudly that humans should be studied. They wanted to understand human consciousness, to unlock its secrets, to perhaps learn how to do what humans did naturally. Some of these aliens had less noble intentions. They wanted to use humans as living tools, as probability engines that could solve impossible problems. Jiwoo listened to the debates for days, growing more and more frustrated. She heard aliens talking about humans like they were dangerous animals or valuable resources. Nobody seemed to see humans as just people. Finally, during one particularly heated debate, Jiwoo stood up. She did not wait to be called on. She did not follow proper council protocol. She just stood and started speaking. "With respect to everyone here," she said, her voice cutting through the argument, "you're all missing the point completely." The chamber fell silent. Hundreds of alien eyes turned to look at the young human engineer. "You're treating this like humans are special or different or strange." Jiwoo continued. But what if we're just the first species you've noticed doing this? What if every civilization has some unique way of interacting with reality, and you've just been too focused on logic and linear thinking to notice? Velshar tilted his head, his four eyes blinking in sequence. Explain what you mean, Engineer Park. Jiwoo took a deep breath. You said humans think chaotically, right? That we make intuitive leaps and try stupid ideas that somehow work? But maybe that's not a defect. Maybe that's a feature. Maybe the universe needs both chaos and logic, both intuition and analysis. Maybe the reason we can access information across time is because time is as fixed and linear as you think it is. She pulled up her old project notes on the holographic display. When I built my device, I wasn't trying to recreate ancient alien technology. I wasn't trying to access the future or remember the past. I was just trying to fix my internet connection so I could play games with my friends online. I failed at that, by the way. My device didn't help with the Wi-Fi at all. A few aliens made sounds that the translators interpreted as amusement. But I found something else, Jiwoo continued, because I was willing to try something that seemed stupid. I didn't know it was supposed to be impossible. So I just tried it anyway, and that's what humans do. We ask, what if? And then we actually attempt it, even when it seems ridiculous. She looked around the chamber at all the different species. You want to quarantine us because we're dangerous? We're not dangerous. We're just willing to fail. We're willing to look stupid. We're willing to try things that don't make sense. And sometimes, just sometimes, that leads to something amazing. Captain Lee was smiling. Ambassador Kong looked proud. Even some of the alien delegates seemed to be reconsidering their positions. Maybe, Jiwoo said quietly, what you really need isn't to control humans or study humans or fear humans. Maybe you just need to learn to think a little bit more like us, to take chances, to trust intuition, to fail and try again. The council chamber remained silent for a long moment as everyone considered her words. 3 days after Jiwoo's speech, researchers made the final breakthrough that would change everything one last time. Deep within the ancient artifact, hidden in quantum states that only activated under very specific conditions, they found a message. The scientists had been studying the device for months, but this message had been locked away in layers of quantum encryption. It was written in multiple languages, including Korean, English, and several alien tongues. The message was from Park Jiwoo, but the date stamp on it read year 2897. 50 years in the future. This is impossible. Jiwoo whispered as she read her own words on the holographic display. Her hands were shaking. I didn't write this. I've never written this. How can it be from me? But the quantum signature was unmistakable. The message had been encoded by Park Jiwoo's own consciousness, using her unique brain pattern as a key. No one else in the universe could have created it. The message itself was short and direct, written in the practical style that Jiwoo used in all her technical reports. To whoever finds this, I am Park Jiwoo, writing this message in the year 2897. I tried to prevent the temporal cascade. I failed. This is my last chance to fix what went wrong. The equation below will prevent the quantum feedback loop that destroys everything. Share it with everyone. Do not let anyone keep this knowledge secret. Do not let anyone control it. The future depends on this information being free. I am sorry I could not find another way. Below the message was a complex mathematical proof, filled with equations that made even the alien scientists' heads hurt. What's a temporal cascade? Captain Lee asked, her voice tight with worry. Dr. Shin's face had gone completely pale. She stared at the equations like they were a death sentence. A temporal cascade is a chain reaction that moves backward and forward through time simultaneously. If someone tried to weaponize temporal resonance technology, or if someone kept it secret and tried to control it, the quantum feedback could create paradoxes. Those paradoxes would multiply, creating more paradoxes until space-time itself became unstable. How unstable? Ambassador Kong asked. Potentially universe-ending, Dr. Shin said quietly. A temporal cascade could unravel causality itself. Past, present, and future would collapse into chaos. Jiwoo felt sick. My future self tried to send a warning backward through time. but I didn't understand what it was. So when I was 17, I just built the device. I thought I was inventing something new, but I was actually receiving my own message from the future. I just didn't have the context to understand it. Velshar studied equations with his 4 eyes moving independently. This mathematical proof is brilliant. If we implement this framework, it would make temporal resonance technology completely open source. The equations are designed so that anyone can build the technology, but no one can weaponize it. The mathematics themselves make it impossible to create a destructive application. So the accident wasn't really an accident, Ambassador Kong said slowly, piecing it together. Your future self engineered this entire situation. She knew the council would find the artifact on that dead world. She knew you would recognize it. She knew we would investigate and eventually find this message. Jiwoo sat down heavily in her chair. I set myself instructions to prevent a war that I haven't even fought yet. Future me made teenage me think I was inventing something, but really I was just following instructions I didn't know I had received. It's like I manipulated myself across time. The question is, Captain Lee said carefully, do we follow the instructions? Do we share this technology with the entire galaxy? Everyone in the chamber looked at Jiwoo. She was somehow at the center of everything, past, present, and future. The decision seemed to rest on her shoulders. Jiwoo looked at the equation her future self had sent. She looked at all the alien species gathered in the council. Some still fearful of humans, some curious, some eager to exploit human abilities. She thought about the dead world where the artifact was found, destroyed by temporal rifts. She thought about the future version of herself who had tried desperately to prevent disaster and failed, until now. Yes, Jiwoo said firmly. We share everything. That's the entire point, isn't it? Future me learned that hoarding knowledge is what creates the cascade. When people try to control this technology or keep it secret, that's when everything goes wrong. So we do the exact opposite. She stood up and addressed the full council with confidence. I am going to publish everything. My high school notes, all the artifact analysis, the message from my future self, every equation, every detail. I am making it completely open source. Anyone who wants this information can have it. Any species, any individual, any government. No restrictions. No patents. No secrets. Are you certain? Velshar asked. Once this knowledge spreads, you cannot control how it will be used. That's exactly the point, Jiwoo said. Control is the problem. Secrets are the problem. The cascade happens when people try to hoard power. So I'm going to make sure that no one can hoard it. If everyone has access to the knowledge, then no one can use it as a weapon. The math itself prevents weaponization, but only if everyone knows it. Some aliens protested. They wanted time to study the technology first, to understand it better, to maintain control. But Jiwoo was stubborn. Within hours, she had uploaded everything to the Galactic Information Network. Every equation, every experiment, every piece of data, all available for free to anyone who wanted it. The aliens who would want to control the technology were furious, but they could not stop the information from spreading. Within days, scientists from dozens of species were building their own temporal resonance devices. Within weeks, the technology had spread across hundreds of worlds. And just as future Jiwoo had promised, the mathematics made it impossible to weaponize. Every attempt to create a destructive application failed. The equations only work when used for communication, for research, for peaceful purposes. It was as if the universe itself enforced the restriction. 6 months later, the Galactic Council created a new organization called the Quantum Probability Research Institute. Humans led it, but every species contributed scientists and resources. The goal was to explore the strange connections between consciousness, time, and reality that humans seem to access naturally. Jiwoo returned to Earth, famous throughout the galaxy, but somehow unchanged by it all. She accepted a teaching position at Seoul National University. Her favorite class was one she taught to both human and alien students. She called it Creative Failure and Accidental Breakthroughs. On her desk, she kept 2 objects. One was her duct tape high school science fair project. The other was a holographic image of the ancient artifact. Below them was a small plaque that read, Second place, 2835 Busan Regional Science Fair. Her students loved to ask about it. Professor Park, a young Zen 3 student asked during one class, is it true that you really built a million-year-old artifact when you were in high school?